Alright guys, so today something exciting happened. The garage now is a little bit more sorted than it was before. So we'll take a shot of that. We've got Matt's Bronco, Bronco to be named later's chassis and engine, and Bronco to be named later's body. So we've got all those there. Been working on Matt's Bronco a little bit. So as you can see, I've hung pretty much all of the sheet metal for the front. Still have to put the supports in the wells. That's gonna take a little bit more adjustment. And then hung the fenders, hung the core support. And so far, I know Matt had already done this once and gotten the gaps right. So I'm just replicating it to make sure I can get the gaps right. Having a little bit of trouble with this corner because it's a reproduction fender compared to the driver's side, which is a stock fender. It looks like it's going to be close. Just have to do a little bit of body work to it probably to get it to line up right. But if you look down the doors here, it's actually matching up very well. Little bit of a door gap issue here. It's actually pretty good in the center. Widens up at the bottom, so you have it wide, narrow, wide. So I'm going to work on that. I haven't really done anything to it yet. I just threw the quarter windows in there just because they were sitting around it and didn't want to get them broken. And then on this side, same thing, only a little bit tighter. So that gap is pretty good. This door gap is pretty good, other than it's just sitting out just a little bit, but I can work that out with a shim. And then, but the door gaps on this side look a little bit better. A little bit tighter over here. Looking pretty good. I've got the rockers in there, which I'm going to place on next. I'm just going to screw those in similar to what I've done with the front. And then I'm going to work on the back tailgate, the tail light panels, and kind of get all that screwed in first before I start doing any welding. Don't worry, I will not let you guys miss out on my horrible welding skills, the nightmare that is my welding. So we will see that coming up in the next few days. I'm going to start putting the front end together. I'm going to start welding it together as soon as I get the gaps right. We have decided what we are going to name it. We took cues from 2 subscribers, and we took a name from each one of those and put it together. And Brighton likes it. So Brighton, what is the name of this Bronco?
Maddie Stormtrooper.
That's right, Maddie the Stormtrooper. It came through 900 miles of storms to get into this garage, so that's where the Stormtrooper came from, and obviously you guys know where the Maddie came from. So now we have to, what do you think of this brown, Brighton? This brown right here.
It looks really sparkly.
You like it?
Mm-hmm.
So you think we got to keep it something like a brown color, or maybe like a green, like an earth tone?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be an earth tone vehicle, probably either a hunter green, a gray of some kind, or a brown, kind of like this. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you very much. Appreciate it, buddy. All right, now on to the Bronco to be named later. So we need some ideas for this Bronco now. And I'll tell you the story behind it before we go much further. And that way you know kind of where we're coming from. This Bronco has a very similar history to Maddie the Stormtrooper over there. We brought this home in a snowstorm, so I know it sounds like every single car we have has a snowstorm story, but you saw the Audi video, so we like driving it in the snow. The Wagoneer does not have a snowstorm story, so we're going to say that not all of them do. But we bought this in December of 2015, and I was working on the Mustang one night, and Mandy kind of had lost interest in the Mustang build. So I asked her, what would pique your interest? And she said, probably either a Bronco or an FJ or a Scout or something like that. And so I jumped on Craigslist. I found this right here, the Bronco to be named later, and we jumped in the car, headed out in a snowstorm at about 7 o'clock at night after work, and drove into Denver, outside of Denver, in order to look at the Bronco. It was in a barn with several other trucks and Broncos, and the gentleman that was selling it had started it for us, smoking awfully bad, had to jump it to get it started. But at that point I was so excited to get the vehicle and also check off the list Christmas present for Mandy at the same time. We went ahead and bought it. There was literally in Denver at that point close to probably 8 or 10 inches of snow, and it was practically a blizzard outside. But this truck ran, kind of. So we got it down the road a ways from the farm, and it died for the first time. Again, middle of darkness, blizzard. We ran so fast out of the house, I wasn't even prepared to be out in the snow. So I had tennis shoes on, jeans, and a t-shirt with a coat on, and I'm trying to figure out why the thing died. It turns out that we were only probably about a half a mile from the farm, and 2 of the kids that lived on the farm had been driving by, noticed that we were stuck on the side of the road, went back, grabbed some jumper cables, came back, jumped us again, and then we got all the way into the small town that we were outside of Denver, and it died again. So someone was driving by at that time, gave us another jump. At that point I realized in it they had updated it to an electronic ignition, and that battery was probably close to dead. And I noticed that with the headlights we were getting virtually no light. It was almost like driving with your headlights off in the middle of a snowstorm. So I thought, well, I'll give it one more jump and I'll just haul as fast as I can. We're still 45 miles away from the house in a snowstorm, but I'm going to go as fast as I can, see if I can get it there. No power steering, by the way. Power steering was out in it. So we got it jumped. We started heading out again. Of course, about 2 miles outside of town, it died for the 3rd time. And at that point, I had had enough. I was either going to leave it on the side of the road or drive to Walmart or somewhere close and get a battery and put it in there and see if that helps. Well, the nearest Walmart was about a 30-minute drive. So we drove to Walmart, we bought a battery. By now it's probably close to 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night. Drove back, put it in. By that time we had over a foot of snow. We got it started again after it took some time to get it started, but we finally got it started. I knew at that point too that the alternator was probably bad, so we're not going to be charging this battery. It's just going to suck the life out of the battery, and of course it came off the shelf at Walmart. No telling what kind of condition it's in. We did make it back to the house. It took us about another 2.5 hours to drive 45 miles because the snow was so high, and every time I went to go turn a corner with these tires on and no power steering, the truck basically just slid. So we had to slow it down a little bit to get it back. We finally made it back to the house, and I parked it there for probably a week to wait for some of the snow to melt so I could at that point try to get it into the garage. It did start the second time after about 45 minutes of work on the engine to get it into the garage, but we got it in, and then we immediately started tearing it apart and took the body off and started on the chassis. So first up is the engine. So we have a 351 Windsor, and we rebuilt this motor, put new rings in it. Practically everything on the inside of the motor is brand new, and new ignition. The Edelbrock that's on it was the one that came with the engine. It's not stock, but looking at it, I rebuilt the carburetor, and the parts that I took out of it were actually in good shape. So I think it's probably still good. I haven't hooked up any of the plumbing yet, but the water pump's on, brand new belts, new alternator. Virtually everything on the motor is new outside of the actual casting itself. Then also rebuilt the steering box. So the steering box has been rebuilt with all new parts. The pump has been rebuilt with all new parts and seals. Plumbing is all new on that as well. Bought the headers and the exhaust system from another gentleman in Colorado Springs that was parting out a stock Bronco and building a rock crawler. So this is not stock exhaust, obviously, but the headers are pretty good shape. The exhaust is in good shape. I had to do a little bit of cutting and welding on it in order to get it bent around a brace right here because of the transmission change. But it's got flow masters on it. They need to be cleaned up. I basically just threw this on here so I could get the truck started, check the engine out, check the transmission out, which I haven't done yet. Then we replaced the 3-speed that was in here with a C6, and the C6 has been completely rebuilt all the way through. I do have to actually cut and weld a new pan because the drive shaft is going to hit the pan. I've actually beat that pan into submission to get the drivetrain in there. So I'm going to have to buy a new pan, cut it, and weld it. That's going to be coming up to try to see if I can get that done correctly. Then we rebuilt the Dana, put an advanced adapter on there to mate the Dana 20 to the C6. And then we had both drive shafts, front and rear. The rear was shortened and the front was lengthened in order to get this underneath the Bronco and give it enough running length to be able to run it. We are running stock springs on the front and the rear for right now. I probably will change that out. Plan on doing probably a 2-inch body lift to it just to get it up just a little bit, and then cut that for a twin stick so I can put a twin stick for the Dana, kind of like that Stormtrooper has. And then we rebuilt the Ford 9, kept the same gearing. We rebuilt the Dana 20, kept the same gearing, and put Rancho shocks on it. Coated the frame. We took the frame down to bare metal and then coated it with chassis black from Eastwood. So it's protected. It's got about 4 layers of chassis black on it with some primer. So it's in pretty good shape. All new suspension elastomers. We didn't reuse any rubber on the suspension. And I got a new drag link and all new parts for the Dana 44 steering. And then we also upgraded to disc brakes, as you can see right there. So a lot has been done to this frame to get it to where it's at. Still have to run, I have brake lines on both the Dana 44 and the 9. Those have been bent and put those in myself, but I have not connected anything yet because we don't have the body on it. So I still have all the old stuff there, which I'm going to cut off and put new brake lines and stuff on this. Then we come over to the body, and the body is much like it was the last time I left it. Haven't really done a lot to it, but we put in new rockers, put in new quarter panels. We did cut this one. I cut it before I knew better, but I also knew we were going to go much bigger wheels and tires. So I think I'm okay with that. If I decide to down the road, I know I can cut it out and replace them. Most of the paint has been removed. I still have a little bit more paint to be removed, and then I've got a lot of welding to do on this in order to fill all the holes that have been cut in this thing over the last 40-something years. But most of the metal is actually in pretty good shape. Window frame is the windshield frame is in good shape. Core support is in good shape. And then, as you can see, I've got it on the rotisserie right here. So this has quite a bit more in order to be done, but it's in process. The bed is in good shape. I still have a few holes I need to weld in there, but overall it's in pretty good shape. So I do know that this one is Mandy's truck. So she wanted it to be a certain way. She wants an 80s truck. So we're very heavily into the 80s in this family, which you'll probably see as time goes on. But we got big cutout quarter panels. We're going to put fender flares on it, big meaty tires and wheels on it as well. And it's going to be some shade of either teal or kind of a light green or maybe even a light blue. I'm kind of leaning toward a classic kind of semi-metallic light blue color. kind of like a classic 4-color, only with a little bit of metallic in it. She's leaning a little more towards a teal. Obviously, we would love to have your opinion on that. I'll throw up a picture of kind of a rough idea of what we're looking at. With a hardtop, single roll bar, but we still haven't picked out the wheels. We still haven't picked out the tires on it yet. We still haven't decided how big a suspension lift we're putting on it, if we're going to put a suspension lift. I know we're at least going to put a 2-inch body lift on it, but it's going to be big and tough and mean. And it's a girl, so we need to name this a girl's name. So throw your opinions down in the comments, and we will name this. I'm kind of liking the Bronco to be named later, but Mandy wants something different. So we will name this Bronco, and we're going to leave it up to you guys to decide. Other than that, we are one vehicle lighter in this garage now. As you can see, when I did an overshot of the garage now, there's actually room in this garage. I can breathe in here, and it makes it much nicer. Everything is on rollers. So Maddie the Stormtrooper's on rollers. This chassis is on rollers. The body is on a body cart, and of course the body weighs almost nothing, so I can literally push it to the side if I need to, pull it one way or the other, push it forward and back just to get everything in here. But the reason why I say that is the Wagoneer, now that we're lighter one car, the Wagoneer is going to back itself in here probably this week and get a new transfer case put in it. Finishing the transfer case rebuild tonight, and then I'm going to stick it in there, and we're going to try to see if we can get this thing actually driving. And if we can, it's going to be a driver, and we're going to start working on it a little bit here and a little bit there. But it's probably not going to live in the garage like the Broncos will, at least until we get the body and the chassis mated up over here. And then that's it. So that's a wrap for Mile Point 3 Garage. Now I got to go in and do a little bit of studying and figure out how I'm going to get Maddie the Stormtrooper going.